Hello and welcome. I'm Amy.
And I'm Tom. Today we're tackling something huge, something that affects every single one of us, how we age. We're going deep into what's truly in your hands.
And this is where it gets really, really empowering. Our sources, they reveal something pretty stunning. 70%, 70% of how you age. That's down to your lifestyle, not your genes.
70%. Wow.
Yeah, it's not some predetermined path. It's overwhelmingly something you can influence.
That really shifts things, doesn't it? Let's paint a picture. Imagine two guys, both 70, John and Rob. John, he's sharp, carries his own groceries, no problem, doesn't get breathless walking around.
Right.
Rob, though, he's forgetful, struggles just walk into his car. And the main difference, it isn't their DNA, it's choices.
Exactly. Lifestyle choice.
In fact, the research suggests that following, the optimal advice versus the total opposite could mean a 14-year difference in just lifespan.
14 years. That's huge.
But it gets deeper. We're talking maybe a 30, even 40-year reduction in health span for the person on the wrong path, meaning like quality of life starts tanking in their 40s or 50s, this deep dive. It's about understanding those big differences and what you can actually do.
So let's start with a foundational idea that might surprise some people. Being sedentary. It's often thought of as a disease itself.
Disease, really?
Yeah. I mean, the sources show that lack of physical activity can up your risk of dying early, even more than things like type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, or even smoking.
Okay, hold on. That's a massive claim. More than smoking. You got proof for that.
Well, the proof is pretty compelling. There's this fascinating old study from the 60s, the Dallas bed rest study.
Go.
They took 5 healthy college guys, put them on strict bed rest, 3 weeks. And strict means strict like catheterized, zero movement.
Wow.
Then, 30 years later, they tracked down the same guys and remeasured their cardiorespiratory fitness, their VO2 max. That's basically how well your body uses oxygen during intense exercise, your engine's capacity.
Got it.
And get this, those 3 weeks of doing absolutely nothing, it was worse for their VO2 max than 30 years of just aging naturally.
3 weeks versus 30 years. That's insane. So, okay, what's the so what here? Why should we care so much about VO2 max for, living longer?
Right. So connecting the dots, having high cardiorespiratory fitness, a high VO2 max, it's one of the best predictors we have for how long and how well you'll live.
Okay.
People with high VO2 max, they tend to live about 5 years longer than folks with low fitness. And there's something like 80% less likely to die from, well, all sorts of causes.
80%. Wow.
And even, just moving from what they call low bad fitness to low normal, just that little jump can add maybe 2 years to your life. That's pretty achievable, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So if sitting around is that bad and VO2 max is the target, how do we actually improve it? Is it just about getting your steps in? Or is there something more specific?
Steps are definitely good, don't get me wrong, great for general activity.
Yeah.
But to really move the needle on VO2 max, you need vigorous intensity exercise.
Vigorous. So like really pushing it.
Exactly. The kind where you really can't hold a conversation. You're pushing your heart rate up to maybe 80% of its max. Moderate stuff like, hopping on the Stairmaster, but you can still chat. Often that's just not enough. Our sources show 40% of people doing the recommended 2.5 hours of moderate exercise a week, they don't even improve their VO2 max.
40%.
Yeah.
So, okay, what does work then? What are these vigorous protocols?
The most effective ones are pretty intense, yeah, but also super efficient. There's the Norwegian 4x4.
Okay.
4 minutes hard, stationary bike or rowers may be best, but running works too. Then 4 minutes easy recovery. Repeat that 4 times. Goal is you're too breathless to talk.
4x4. Got it.
Or there's 1 minute on, 1 minute off. Simple. 1 minute, just absolutely flat out as hard as you can. Then 1 minute rest. Repeat 10 times. It's a solid 20-minute workout.
Okay, that sounds doable.
And then there's Tabata. Even faster. 20 seconds. All out effort. 10 seconds rest. Do that 8 times. Take a short break. Then repeat the whole cycle maybe once more. It's like a 10-minute workout.
10 minutes, wow.
And here's the real game changer, the minimum effective dose. To get these kinds of profound brain and heart benefits, just once a week.
Once a week? Seriously? Not every day?
Just once a week of that really intense stuff. I mean, think about it. 10-minute Tabata session you squeeze in somewhere. That can unlock some incredible health gains. It's about that consistent hit, not, grinding yourself down daily.
That's actually mind-blowing. Just once a week? Okay, so when someone does that, pushes that hard, what's actually happening inside? Physiologically?
Right. So when you're going all out, your muscles need energy, like now, faster than your body can deliver oxygen. So it starts producing lactate.
Lactate. Isn't that the stuff that makes your muscles burn? The bad stuff.
That's what we used to think. For ages, it was just seen as metabolic waste, but now we know it's actually kind of a miracle molecule.
Miracle molecule. Okay, tell me more.
Well, first, your heart, your brain, your liver, they actually use lactate for energy, a bit like how ketones work, which we'll probably get to later.
No.
But even cooler, lactate acts as a signaling molecule. In the brain, it flips a switch for something called BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor.
BDNF. Heard of that?
Yeah, people call it miracle grow for your brain. It literally encourages new neuron growth that's neurogenesis. It boosts connections between neurons, which helps memory and thinking, enhances neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change. Plus, it ramps up neurotransmitters like norepinephrine for focus and serotonin for mood. It's doing a lot.
Okay, if it's that good for the brain, why can't we just, drink it? Take a lactate shot? Sounds easier than those 4x4.
Yeah, good question. And researchers have looked into it. You can give sodium lactate infusions, and they show benefits, like for people recovering from traumatic brain injuries.
Right.
But if you just drink it, a lot of it gets gobbled up by your bet cells before it really gets circulating to the brain in high amounts. And besides, exercise gives you literally hundreds of other benefits you just can't bottle, right?
Yeah.
Better heart function, stress resilience, antioxidants, you name it. You can't replicate all that. And let's talk specifically about how this intense exercise hits brain aging. As we get older, particularly after 50 or so, parts of the brain key for learning and memory, like the hippocampus, they naturally tend to shrink, maybe 1 or 2% a year.
Okay, that's kind of depressing.
But wait. Here's the good news. A study looked at older adults, 60 plus. They did aerobic exercise 3 times a week, 30 minutes for just 1 year.
Yeah.
Their hippocampus. It didn't just stop shrinking, it actually grew.
Wow.
By 1 to 2%.
It grew back. Wow.
Yeah. Directly linked back to that BDNF and neurogenesis we talked about. Your brain isn't just holding on, it's actively rebuilding, strengthening connections, improving memory, focus. And another powerful finding, women who had the highest levels of cardiorespiratory fitness, they were 80% less likely to develop dementia down the line.
80%. That's huge. Prevention really is key then.
Oh, absolutely. Always better than trying to fix damage later. And it's not just the brain. The heart gets rejuvenated too. Like the brain, our hearts tend to shrink and get stiffer as we age. Big contributor to cardiovascular disease.
Right. Stiff arteries and all that.
Exactly. But check this out. Incredible study by Ben Levine's group. They took 50-year-olds, sedentary but otherwise healthy, put them on a serious exercise program for 2 years, including those Norwegian 4x4s.
Yeah, what happened?
Their hearts, which normally would be getting smaller and stiffer, actually got larger and less stiff. They looked like the hearts of 30-year-olds.
No way. Reversed aging by 20 years.
Electively, yes. 20 years younger in terms of heart structure and function. Part of how this happens is exercise helps clear out excess glucose, which prevents something called glycation.
Glycation.
Yeah, it's basically sugar molecules sticking to proteins, making tissues stiff and aged. Exercise helps stop that.
Okay, so movement is clearly fundamental. Reversing aging in the heart and brain, amazing. But what about what we eat? Nutrition. We hear so much conflicting stuff. Let's bust some myths. Starting with one I hear all the time. Multivitamins are useless, right? Just expensive pee.
Yeah, that's a classic myth we definitely need to tackle. Despite all that talk, we now have 3 large randomized controlled trials, RCTs, using just a standard multivitamin, like Centrum Silver.
Okay, big studies. What do they find?
They found that older adults taking that multi for a couple of years showed clear improvements in cognition, in processing speed, and in episodic memory remembering events.
Improvements. How much?
The improvement in episodic memory was equivalent to turning back the clock on memory aging by about 5 years.
5 years. From a basic multi.
Yep. And because these were RCTs, it points to cause and effect, not just, an association. It's a simple, pretty inexpensive thing that seems to genuinely help brain function.
That's actually quite remarkable. Okay, another nutrient you mentioned earlier, vitamin D. You said deficiency increases dementia risk by 80%. That's terrifying. Tell us more.
It is a huge number. And here's the thing about vitamin D. It's not really just a vitamin. It's actually a steroid hormone.
Hormone.
Yeah, it influences over 5% of your entire genome. It's incredibly powerful. Yet, something like 70% of people in the U.S. have insufficient levels.
70%. Why so many?
Well, think about how we get it naturally from UVB sunlight hitting our skin. But modern life, right? We're indoors most of the time.
Sure.
Plus, sunscreen blocks it. If you have darker skin, the melanin acts like a natural sunscreen. So you might need like 6 to 10 times more sun exposure to make the same amount.
Wow. okay.
And if you live in northern latitudes for several months a year, the right kind of UVB rays don't even reach the Earth's surface. So deficiency is widespread. And the consequences are, well, they're insidious. It's not like scurvy where your teeth fall out quickly. The damage builds up slowly over time.
Okay, so what do we do? Supplement.
Supplementation with vitamin D3 is generally the way to go. Typically, around 4,000 IUs per day can get most people's blood levels into the optimal range.
What's optimal?
Usually aiming for between 40 to 60 nanograms per milliliter, maybe even up to 80. Those levels are consistently linked with the lowest risk of dying from any cause. And remember that dementia stat. People who supplement with D3 show about a 40% reduced risk. Studies even find improved thinking and fewer amyloid plaques in dementia patients given vitamin D.
Fewer plaques. Wow.
Yeah, and every 10 nanomole per liter drop in your blood levels is linked to more brain damage, these things called white matter hyperintensities. It's fundamental.
All right, next up. Magnesium, the unsung hero. Nearly half the U.S. population doesn't get enough.
Half. Why is it so important?
It's a cofactor, meaning it helps over 300 different enzymes in your body do their jobs. Crucial for making energy, using energy, and really critical for DNA repair enzymes.
DNA repair, like preventing cancer. Exactly. Those enzymes are key for fixing damage that can lead to cancer. And here's a stat that really makes you think. For every 100 milligram decrease in daily magnesium intake, there's about a 24% increase in the risk of pancreatic cancer.
24% increase.
Wow. And people with the highest magnesium levels, they have about a 40% lower risk of dying from any cause and a 50% lower risk of dying from cancer specifically.
So how does that work? Why does low intake have such big effects?
It relates to something called triage theory. Think of it like your body having a limited budget of magnesium. If it's running low, it has to prioritize.
Prioritize what?
Short-term survival, keeping your heart beating, making energy right now, that gets the magnesium first. Long-term stuff like meticulous DNA repair, that gets put on the back burner.
So the damage builds up silently.
Exactly. You don't feel it day to day, but chronically low intake undermines your long-term health. Best way to get more: leafy greens, kale, spinach, chard. Load up.
Leafy greens. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, what about omega-3s? I hear they're good for your mood.
Definitely. Omega-3 fatty acids are really potent anti-inflammatories, and they can absolutely help lessen depressive symptoms, but it goes way beyond mood. A big Harvard study actually identified not eating enough seafood, which is our main source of potent omega-3s like EPA and DHA, as one of the top 6 preventable causes of death.
Preventable cause of death, up there with smoking.
Right up there with things like high blood pressure, smoking, yeah. We always focus on what to avoid, but sometimes what we don't get enough of is just as bad. There's a measure called the omega-3 index. It looks at the long-term level in your red blood cells.
Yeah.
People with a high index, like 8% or more, have about a 5-year increased life expectancy compared to those with a low index, which is 4% or less.
5 years longer life.
And the average in the U.S., it's only around 5%. So most people are way below optimal.
Okay, but here's the kicker.
Yeah.
Get this comparison. Smokers. People who smoked but had a high omega-3 index. They had the same risk of dying as non-smokers who had a low omega-3 index.
Wait, seriously, having low omega-3s is as bad as smoking in terms of mortality risk.
That specific comparison highlights just how incredibly detrimental not getting enough omega-3 is. It's that critical. So should we just eat tons of salmon? What about mercury and microplastics in fish? Are capsules okay?
That's a valid concern. Fish oil supplements, maybe 1 to 2 grams a day, can definitely shift your index from low to high. And they are a good option because they're purified.
Purified.
Yeah, meaning they remove contaminants like mercury or microplastics that you might find in some fish. So you get the good stuff, EPA and DHA, without the potential downsides. And for people who already have cardiovascular disease, higher doses, like 4 grams a day of EPA, have been shown to lead to 25% fewer heart-related deaths or events like heart attacks and strokes. So capsules can be really effective.
Okay, good to know. Now, creatine. Everyone thinks that's just for, the gym bros trying to get huge muscles. Is there more to it?
Oh, absolutely. That's such a common misconception. While it's totally true that creatine boosts muscle mass, strength, training volume, especially if you take about 5 grams a day alongside resistance training, the brain benefits are where things get really exciting now.
Brain benefits from creatine.
Yep. Your body makes some creatine naturally, maybe 1 to 3 grams a day, and you get some from animal products. But your brain also makes it and uses it. And it seems to particularly shine when the brain is under stress.
What kind of stress?
Lack of sleep, emotional stress, high cognitive load. like a really demanding job, or even in conditions like neurodegenerative disease. Research shows taking 10 grams a day boosts creatine levels in several brain regions. And here's something astonishing. Some studies found that taking 25 to 30 grams of creatine could completely wipe out the cognitive problems caused by 21 hours of sleep deprivation.
Totally wipe them out.
Yeah, people perform tasks better than control subjects who are actually well rested.
Better than rested. That's incredible.
It is. Many people who use it report fewer of those mid-afternoon energy crashes, maybe even feeling like they need a bit less sleep overall. It's especially helpful for vegans and vegetarians since they get very little creatine from their diet. And there's even new research just out in 2025 linking creatine use to maybe a 14% reduction in cancer risk. Still early days on that, but interesting.
Okay, but what about the downsides people talk about?
Okay.
Hair loss, bloating.
Right, those are persistent myths. The hair loss thing comes from one old study years ago in rugby players that showed a small increase in a hormone called DHT, which is linked to hair loss.
Okay.
But that finding has never been replicated in decades of follow-up research, and a brand new 2025 randomized controlled trial found zero significant difference in hair outcomes or DHT levels compared to a placebo. So that seems pretty thoroughly debunked.
Okay, good. And the bloating.
Creatine does draw a little water into your muscle cells. That's part of how it works. So you might see the scale go up by, I don't know, maybe 2 pounds max.
2 pounds.
Yeah, it's minimal. And it's not fat. It's water inside the muscle cell. It's not a negative thing. And it's often way exaggerated. And one more quick nutrient shout out. Choline, especially crucial for pregnant women.
Choline, okay.
There was a great study where moms got higher choline intake during pregnancy, about 930 milligrams a day, almost double the usual recommendation.
What happened with the kids?
Their kids scored significantly higher on IQ tests after birth. Basically, it helped make them smarter. Good sources are egg yolks, but supplements are definitely an option too.
Wow, making kids smarter. Okay, there is so much powerful stuff here just on the nutrient front. It's almost dizzying. If you had to pick like 1 or 2 key takeaways just from this section on nutrients, what would they be before we move on?
Ooh, tough one. I'd say first, don't ignore the basics. Things like a multivitamin and vitamin D, they have real proven benefits. Don't dismiss them. And second, really pay attention to magnesium and omega-3s. They fly under the radar sometimes, but they are absolutely critical for long-term health and preventing major issues. Deficiency is common and the impact is huge.
Got it. Basics plus magnesium and omega-3s. Okay, now let's shift gears slightly. Talk about some specific eating strategies people use, like the ketogenic diet and fasting. What's the deal with keto?
Right, keto. So basically, a ketogenic diet shifts your body's main fuel source. Instead of primarily burning glucose from carbs and sugars, your body starts burning fatty acids and producing ketones, like beta-hydroxybutyrate or BHB.
Okay, burning fat and ketones. Why do that?
Well, the benefits can be pretty compelling. Weight loss is a big one. People see like your father losing, 4 or 5 stone. That's significant.
Yeah, it was amazing. 60, 70 pounds.
Exactly. But the brain benefits are maybe even more interesting. That main ketone, BHB, it acts a lot like lactate, which we talked about earlier with exercise.
Right, the miracle molecule.
Yeah, it's a really efficient fuel for neurons. But it also does something else cool. It kind of frees up glucose in the brain.
Frees up glucose.
Yeah, it shunts glucose away from just being burned for energy and pushes it into a pathway that produces glutathione.
Glutathione, the antioxidant.
Exactly, your brain's master antioxidant. So BHB indirectly helps fight brain aging and neuroinflammation, which we know is a driver of Alzheimer's. Plus, like lactate, it also activates that BDNF miracle grow for the brain.
So multiple brain benefits. What about those ketone drinks, exogenous ketones?
Yeah, those can give you a quick cognitive boost. Drinking them raises your BHB levels pretty fast, giving you maybe 1 to 3 hours of improved focus, alertness, a kind of nootropic effect.
Nootropic, like a smart drug.
Sort of. Useful if you're struggling to stick to the full diet or just want a temporary mental edge. There are studies looking at them now for potentially helping with mild cognitive decline too.
Interesting. Okay, what about fasting or time-restricted eating? What's happening there?
The big mechanism with fasting is activating autophagy.
Autophagy, self-eating.
Pretty much. It's your cell's cleanup crew. They break down and recycle damaged components, old proteins, messed up mitochondria, even those amyloid plaques we mentioned. It's crucial for cellular health.
And fasting triggers this.
Yeah, it primarily happens when you're in a fasted state. To really get significant autophagy going, the research suggests aiming for around a 16-hour fasting window each day seems like a good target.
16 hours.
Yeah.
So, like, stop eating at 8 p.m., don't eat again till noon the next day.
Exactly. That gives your body time, usually after about 12 hours or so when liver glycogen is depleted, to really ramp up that cleaning process. Human research is still figuring out the exact timings, but 16 hours is a common goal. And beyond just weight loss, which often happens naturally because you eat less overall time-restricted eating, especially compressing your eating into maybe a 6-hour window, seems to improve things like blood sugar control and blood pressure, even more than just cutting calories alone.
Interesting.
And related to timing, here's a key tip for better sleep. Try to finish eating at least 3 hours before you naturally go to bed.
3 hours.
Eating late messes with your blood sugar regulation overnight. Plus, your digestion process itself can interfere with getting deep, restful sleep. Researchers using tracking apps see this connection clearly.
Okay, 3 hours before bed. Good tip. Any downsides to fasting?
One crucial thing. If you are doing intermittent fasting, you absolutely need to make sure you're still doing resistance training and getting enough protein each day.
Why is that?
To preserve muscle mass. You don't want to lose muscle while you're losing fat. Aim for maybe 1.2 to 1.6 grams of protein per kilogram of your body weight, and make sure you get it all within your eating window.
So total daily protein matters more than that old anabolic window right after working out.
Yeah, that window seems less critical than just hitting your total protein goal for the day within your eating window if you're fasting. And just to quickly recap some nutritional stars we touched on: dark leafy greens, kale, broccoli loaded with magnesium, folate, vitamin K1, and precursors to sulforaphane.
Sulforaphane.
Yeah, amazing compound. Boosts brain glutathione, helps detoxify pollutants. Blueberries are fantastic too. Polyphenols for better thinking, blood flow. Salmon, obviously, for those vital omega-3s. And just as important is what to avoid. Refined sugars. Refined carbs. They actively damage your blood vessels, can even lead to brain shrinkage. Remember, even just high normal blood sugar is linked to a shrinking hippocampus.
Right.
Which brings us back to that kind of aha moment, not getting enough key micronutrients. It can cause damage on par with exposure to nasty environmental toxins like radiation. It really highlights that deficiency is a form of toxicity.
That's a really powerful frame. Deficiency as toxicity. Okay, so let's talk about those other toxins, the environmental ones we might be bumping into without realizing. What are some hidden dangers?
Well, microplastics are a huge one. They're literally everywhere. And a major source might shock you. Hot drinks.
Hot drinks.
Those standard paper coffee cups, they're almost always lined with plastic. And heat makes the plastic leach chemicals, like BPA, way faster, like a 55-fold increase.
55 times.
And tea bags. Many, many tea bags are actually made of plastic polymers. They can release thousands of microplastic particles into every single cup of hot tea.
Seriously. My tea bag. Okay, what can we do about that, Thad?
Simple swaps. Check your tea bags, look for brands that use paper, or just switch to loose leaf tea. And for coffee, bring your own reusable mug. That simple habit avoids a ton of exposure. Even glass bottles aren't always perfect. A 2025 study from France found some glass bottles could actually have more microplastics than plastic ones.
Or how?
Flaking off from paint used on the lid, apparently. Though the particles might be larger, maybe less likely to get absorbed by the body. Still, something to be aware of.
So plastics are everywhere. Anything help get rid of them?
Diet can play a role here too. Soluble fermentable fiber, the kind in fruits, vegetables, whole grains, it forms this kind of viscous gel in your gut. And animal studies suggest this gel can actually trap microplastics, helping you excrete them instead of absorbing them. Human research is still needed, but it looks promising. Then you've got chemicals like BPA and BPS. Canned foods, especially things like soup, often have plastic linings containing BPA. Heat it up in the can, BPA levels can jump 1,000%.
1,000%. And BPA is bad because...
It's an endocrine disruptor. It messes with your hormones, mimics estrogen, and watch out for BPA-free labels. Often they just swap it for BPS, which research suggests might be just as bad or even worse.
Oh, great. So what's the fix? Avoid cans.
Opting for fresh or frozen is often better. Look for cans that specifically say BPA, BPS-free lining, or better yet, choose stuff packed in glass jars. And one more link, pesticides and Parkinson's disease. A 2025 study found living near golf courses was linked to a 126% higher risk of Parkinson's.
Golf courses, why?
Because common pesticides used on them, things like rotenone and paraquat, are known mitochondrial toxins. They damage the energy factories in your cells.
Scary. Is it from breathing it in?
The main risk seems to be from ingestion, usually through contaminated water sources nearby. So if you live near areas with heavy pesticide use, investing in a good reverse osmosis water filter for your drinking water could be a really smart move.
Wow. Coffee cups, tea bags, cans, golf courses.
Huh?
It really is the hidden stuff. Okay, let's move to our final section, which is literally about bringing the heat. Deliberate heat exposure. Red light therapy is everywhere now. Is there real science there?
Yeah, for red light therapy, the scientific term is photobiomodulation.
Right.
There's actually pretty convincing evidence it can improve skin aging, reduce wrinkles. So, yeah, legitimate benefits there for skin health.
Okay, good to know. What about saunas? Traditional hot ones versus the infrared kind, which is better?
Good question. The most robust research and generally the biggest benefits seem to come from traditional hot saunas. We're talking temps around 175, 180 degrees Fahrenheit for about 20 minutes.
Pretty hot. What do they do?
What's fascinating is they actually mimic moderate intensity aerobic exercise. Your heart rate goes up, cardiac output increases, blood flow improves.
Mimics exercise.
Yeah. And they seem to have an additive effect with actual exercise, meaning if you do both, you get even bigger improvements in your cardiorespiratory fitness, cholesterol levels, blood pressure, compared to just doing exercise alone.
Additive effect.
Ugh.
Interesting. What about longevity?
The studies are pretty striking. Using a traditional sauna 4 to 7 times a week is associated with about a 50% lower risk of dying from cardiovascular causes and a 40% lower risk of dying from any cause compared to using it just once a week.
50% lower. That's huge.
It is. They also boost growth hormone anywhere from 2 to 16-fold, which helps with tissue repair. And they increase IGF-2, another growth factor linked to better memory and learning. Plus, they can really help with sleep. They trigger the release of these things called somnogenic cytokines, basically natural compounds that make you feel sleepy.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I've definitely found using a sauna or even just a really hot bath sometimes helps me unwind, manage stress. I even rehearse talks in there sometimes. Seems to help my memory. And sleep is definitely better afterwards.
Exactly. That fits perfectly with the science. Now, infrared saunas, they operate at lower temperatures, maybe around 140 degrees Fahrenheit. They might still offer benefits, but you likely need to spend longer in them to get the same physiological effects as a traditional hot sauna.
Okay, so hotter might be better, or at least faster.
Seems that way based on current research. And there's one more really cool heat benefit, antidepressant effects.
Heat helps depression. How?
There was this study using a special heat bed with infrared saunas. They took people with major depressive disorder and carefully raised their core body temperature by about 2 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
A single session produced an antidepressant effect that lasted for 6 weeks.
6 weeks from one heat session.
Yeah. And when they combined multiple heat sessions with standard cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, they saw a massive 16-point drop on the Hamilton Depression Scale. That's a huge clinical improvement. So real therapeutic potential there.
Incredible. Heat is an antidepressant. Okay, well, this has been quite the journey, an incredibly insightful deep dive. We went from that really big picture idea that, wow, 70% of how we age is actually stuff we can influence, all the way down to these super specific, actionable things for your body, your brain.
Yeah.
And I think the key is not to feel overwhelmed, right? It's about seeing the power in small, consistent changes adding up over time. Each little thing is like a brick you're laying for a healthier future.
Exactly right. And so many of these tools, these simple things like getting enough magnesium or using a sauna or doing one intense workout a week, they're just not widely known. But they can genuinely, drastically improve not just how long you live, but how well you live, your health span. Knowledge really is power here. And actually applying that knowledge, that's where the transformation happens.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up, maybe a final thought for everyone listening. Given how much your lifestyle choices sculpt your future health, what's just one thing, one piece of knowledge from this deep dive that you're going to commit to weaving into your life starting today? What's the one thing you'll do now to thank your future self?